Donnie, I'm so excited to get you and Trine Softball on the podcast. It is a long overdue conversation on my end, but just so grateful to have you here.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it. I followed the show. I followed your career. So I'm excited to have a conversation about the game we both love.
I know we're neighbors. It's kind of crazy. Did you get snow the other day? Because I did.
Did, yes. So we actually
Okay.
went to go that day. So my boys loved it because they had a snowball fight in this all the snow Christmas trees. So yeah, it was a blast.
That's a way to do it. How many kids do you have?
I have it. Well, do 8 tomorrow and a 5-year-old. I have two boys.
Wow. Amazing. Well, I'm 5 and 8 years behind you with my first, but I'm sure I'll have all the questions for boys because I grew up in a household of girls, as you know. So we don't
Yep.
know what we're doing over here. But you
Well,
seem to have a good
I have a
idea.
brother and three sisters, and so I had a little blend of each.
Amazing. Amazing. Well, you're not just on here because you won a national championship last year. Your teams have been consistently successful. And it's one of those where I know a lot of coaches that are listening can learn a ton from how is the culture built? How are you able to get the team here? But can we just start with you going back at that national championship game? Tell me about it from your perspective that day.
Just a crazy day. Our kids are pretty observant. I've never worn a white shirt in my life in a game, and I came out in a white shirt, and they're like, "What are you doing?" I said, "Today's the day of first. I'm wearing this shirt first time. We're going to win 2 games on the last day, the first time, and win our first national championship." And you're always trying to find anything you can find as a coach to get them a little more fired up, to give them a little more confidence. Um, I'm not saying that's why we won, but it was just one of those days you will never forget that experience. And we won the coin toss to be home the last game, and just winning a coin toss was like the greatest momentum of all time. I remember like jumping up and down, like we're home, and just it was just an unbelievable day of watching your kids truly go through the grind of losing that first game to getting embarrassed 11-4, and then getting back and being a walk off in the seventh. I mean, you just kind of saw the word mental toughness is thrown all over the world these days, but you really saw what they were made of in that tournament, and that was just a great experience.
Yeah, like you saw the whole gamut, which I think was going to lead me to my next question is, you don't just have one season, it's like the best season the entire year. Like every season has its highs and lows, and of course, every program has that. But can you identify a few of those highs and lows throughout the season that helped you be prepared for that final game when everything was on the line?
We had a great start. Obviously, we lost a nail biter to CNU on a walk off, and it was just one of those weird. 3 kids come in at semester, so it was one of those years we've never had that happen. So we had a lot of change early, which can be good or bad. Luckily, our kids bought into it. We lost a home game to Muskego, and after they beat us, they chanted we left our mark. And the next day, they lost 2 games to the conference. So that was their big moment. And I thought we just finally it started to click a little bit. Defensively, I thought we were pretty well solid the whole year. Um, and it just kind of started to come together, and you just kind of saw them gain momentum. And um, I knew if we could score enough runs, our pitching staff was good enough, and our defense was by far the best we've had in here in a long time. And you win game on those. So basically, people ask me like, how did this happen? And I think you gain success through failure. So if you look at our senior class, who was really dominant, their freshman year, they come in, we finished third in the country that year before, and they expect to play for something pretty special. Well, it's COVID year, so we played 10 games, season's over. The
Mm-hmm.
next year, you play that weird schedule. It was a mess. It wasn't very enjoyable for any of us, and we're 30-8 with a young team. We're in the championship game of our conference tournament, and we get a COVID test. And I'm the one doing the testing, so morally, for about 10 seconds, I'm like, do I just bury this or do I, So no, we had to go with forward, and we presented it, and we don't make the NCAA tournament into like a 14-year streak or whatever it was because of COVID. And so there's a heartbreaking loss. And the next year we start off 0-7, and we get beat by number 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 18, whatever it was. I mean, it was an unbelievable schedule. And I missed a couple games. My little guy had appendix burst, had to have surgery, and didn't do very well for a couple days. So I flew over from our trip, and it was just you think about the senior class, all the adversity they went through, and then you get to the senior year, and obviously we knew we had a chance to be pretty good with the pitching staff that we had, and the freshman of the year coming in that we thought would be pretty special. Um, and we're playing well, and we just had to find a way in practice to make them lose. So we came up with all different kind of drills that, now they know. I've talked about it. They really couldn't win, but they
Mm-hmm.
would fail over and over again in practice. And there's always consequences in our program. There's a winner and a loser. In today's society, you can't call someone a loser. Well, if you're not a winner, you're a loser. So there'd be some kind of, maybe running or some kind of embarrassment punishment where you had to like open doors and bark like a dog or just something stupid they had to do to teammates, just to let you know, hey, you weren't the winner that day.
Yeah.
And really, it kind of created a culture where they couldn't wait for game days because it was so much easier, and they could win on game day, and they couldn't win on practice day. And we kind of made the field like the weight room, and you can't beat the weight room. You can go in there and get stronger, but you're never going to beat that room. And we made practice that way. And luckily for us, they loved it. And there's days they probably hated us for it. But one of the best moments was this simple bunting drill, and they were failing over and over again. And our trainer came out and said, "Hey, you get one pitch to put a button down," and she put it down, and they carried her off the field. I'm like, if she can do it, why can't you as a college athlete? Just a really cool moment. And I remember saying, guys, it's simple, get the button down. And you look at through the tournament, we got our buttons down and executed really well. So I think one moment was probably carrying our trainer off the field like Rudy when she won the drill for him. But we had to find a way to kind of get them to realize it's not that hard. It's between the years the reason you're not getting it down. It's not your skill set. And so I think all that failure over the years of when we talked about led to, they believed it, and they weren't caught off guard when they got beat. They were pissed, but they realized, hey, it's like the blue machine drill. They beat us, but the next day we beat it. That was the mentality. It was really special to watch as a group see that set in and work.
That's so interesting that you make them lose like every day. I think it's awesome. Like I work with athletes in person in the cage, and sometimes I'll be like, this is the last ball of the day. You're either going to win the challenge or not. And when they don't, they're like, can I get one more? And I'm like, no, like,
Nope.
You don't get one more in softball. Like, sorry, you don't. And like, even the parents are like, just let her hit another. I'm like, no, like what type of standard are we setting? But I think it's the same type of muscle that you're trying to, create for your athletes. It's like, get them used to losing, get them used to it. So when they win, once it's going to be, even more awesome. But then if they lose, like you said, like they're not taking that to the grave with them. They're just like, crap, like how do we win this next game?
Thing too, the travel ball mentality is, you play how many games a weekend, and you hear all the time, well, those don't matter. It's not bracket play. Well, in college, that one loss can take you out of regional ranking. It can take you out of a conference from first to fifth. So
Yeah.
we have to find ways to reinstate that winning it should hurt. I tell every recruit, if you lose and you go home and you sleep right away, you don't want to play here. I want you to at least be rolling around once or twice saying, what the heck could we done better today? Like, it should hurt. And if it doesn't hurt, you're not invested. We talk a lot about, if you take a test, you've never studied for it, and you flunk it, you have an excuse. Well, I wasn't prepared. But if you study for a month, 2 weeks, you're up till 1 o'clock, 2 weeks prior to this test, and now you flunk it, it hurts because you were invested. And so, one thing we have to do as coaches is to get our kids to invest so much that when they do get beat or lose, it hurts inside.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be a big loss. I probably shouldn't be mentioning this, but my husband plays golf when he plays with his buddies on Tuesday nights. And the loser, if they ever do like a one-on-one, and like, let's say my husband loses, the guy who beat him has to, I think he gives him a signed dollar. And it's like and he has to post it up in his locker. And like, just seeing that every day is enough like to grind his gears to make him definitely want to beat him the next time. But it's like simple little things. So I love how you said you had like kids bark at each other, like if they lost. But what are some of those challenges that maybe like a travel ball coach could implement into a practice? Again, we don't want to tell our kids we're trying to make them lose, but what are some of those things that maybe us coaches can adopt?
We just put out you'd use the hack attack or the blue machine or a live pitcher when we're pitching coaches, and they had to get so many bunts, as a group in certain categories. So, we draw lines. This is 3 points, 2 points, 1 points, and you had to get it this way to get the points or whatever. And you saw it in a game. We put a great bunt down. The whole dugout's yelling 3 points, 3 points. The team's like, what are they talking about? But it was that drill in a game, and that 3 points was, we got the bunt down, moved the runner, and she was safe because it was such a great bunt. And so you kind of saw that drill really come into play. I'm trying to think what else we do. Just, live, they hit behind the runner. Everyone does that, but just, we put targets out and they got to hit these 2 gaps. And if it misses by 2 inches, it doesn't count. You've got to hit these 2 gaps. Well, no, they caught it because it wasn't here. So just really small details that they have to do. Like, last ball, we'll give you one more. Nope. I want that sour taste in your mouth till tomorrow. I want that failure to carry over tonight. But my last swing wasn't good. Okay, you're putting gas on the fire, and you just want that fire to burn bigger and bigger every day. And we're trying
Nice.
ways to create that.
That's so great. Now, if you could define that team from last season in like 3 words or less, how would you define them?
Well, I would say Ubuntu, but I have to explain what that means. And selfless was a great way, and extremely competitive.
Okay, well, now definitely describe the first one.
So Ubuntu is our foundation of this program. Everyone asks what is Transalt all about, and the first thing I say is Ubuntu, and it's UBUNTU, and you'll see it on our championship ring, you'll see it on the jackets or sweatshirt or bracelets, hats, whatever. It's everywhere you go. It's actually on our new field. It's left territory and foul territory and right field. It's 6 foot by 25. It says Ubuntu, um, and it's basically I am because we are, and it's a
Mm,
philosophy of. And Tennessee used it this year. I heard their announcers talking about it. Some of my alumni were watching the game and sent it to me. But basically, this means that everyone is equal. Everyone has a role. No one ever needs an invitation, and that you are loved and accepted immediately for who you are once you enter this program. It's just a way of caring about other people's success more than your own. So when you look in the mirror, that's the last person you should care about. You should care about everyone to your left, your right, your teammates, professors, whatever it is. And we start really small with softball and talk about, it doesn't care who plays shortstop. It doesn't care who plays center field. It doesn't matter who bats first or fourth. It doesn't matter who starts the game. It's pitching stat. It all matters in the game. The scoreboard's in our favor, and we don't care who gets the credit. And we start with something like that small, and we try to kind of phase into a lifestyle of just caring more about other people. And that's my favorite part of this job is they come in as a freshman, they have to take this little quiz about what this word means, and they give me the Webster Dictionary definition. And then as a senior, I ask them again, and I might get a 3-page example of what this means. And then as alumni of 5, 10, 15, 20 years, I get phone calls and emails. Hey, this happened today. And all I think about this was Ubuntu, how it changed my life or someone else's life. So we challenge our kids every day to how many random acts of kindness can you send out into the world to better yourself and better your community.
mm, that is
And
so cool. That is
and
so cool.
last year's team was a great example of that. So if you look at the World Series, we took out our Player of the Year center fielder and put a freshman in, and she gets the game-winning run in Game 2, hits a home run in Game 3. That's 450, makes all tournament team, and then we move her and put her behind Debbie Hill, and she's because they walked her 11 out of 13 times in the final series,
Hmm.
and she bats almost 400 and had some huge at bats for us. Um, we took out our starting catcher and put a different catcher in because it was a better matchup. We DH for our third baseman, who was one of our best hitters because she was in a mental slump. And no one threw a fit, no one got mad. I mean, yeah, an athlete, they were, one be taken out, but you understood. And you look down, you see our senior center fielder player of the year 4, first one of the dugout to high five the freshman. We had a chance to win it all because of that, not
Mm,
because of the talent, but because they bought into everyone else and everyone else having success. And that's what separates good from great.
I couldn't agree more. So a few weeks ago, we had Pat Murphy on the podcast, and I was asking about his 2004 team that won the national title. And he said that that team had adopted Mudita, which it's very similar to Ubuntu. Like they sound like very, excuse me, sorry, like similar words that include selflessness. It includes putting someone else before yourself. And I think the way he also described it's very similar is when you can be so happy for someone else's success before your own.
Yep.
And like, but like you have 2 separate words, 2 different things you've adopted. And what I love most about it is you made it about you guys. You didn't make it about, oh crap, the other team has a rise ball pitcher who throws 75. Like you didn't make it about anything about the other team. It's about you guys adopting this word and adopting it and living it out. And you must have seen it throughout the whole season and not just that day.
No, we
Um,
did. It was awesome. I mean, it's happened a couple times, but those years are those special ones. And when you see it coming, like, okay, we got a shot. Like this team has a chance because of that.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
Pat, go ahead.
our meeting, the first thing we talked about was sacrifice. Like that was going to be our phrase all year long. Ubuntu, yes, foundation, but hashtag sacrifice will be everything we do this year. And if you guys will sacrifice, we have a shot. So, as a coach, I've always struggled with when you think you have a chance to win it, do you mention it? Do you take about, step 1, step 2, step 3? You never talk about the end. You talk about the process, right? So, and I've always mentally fought myself on that. Like, what do I do? So this year, I'm like, screw it. We all know it's in the back of their mind. We finished national round the year before. We got better. We brought in better players. Like, we upgraded some pieces. So first day of practice, I handed a blank sheet of paper, and I said, write down your goal for this team. And don't write down what I want to hear. Write down your goal for this team. And we had 26 players, and everyone had the same exact expression: win national championship. And I said, okay, 1, 2, 3, flip them over. And everyone was the same. I said, okay, there, we talked about it, and now we're getting back on the process to achieve it. I said, go back, put in your locker, and hang them up. And sure enough, all year long as we're hanging there, we get to the locker room in Texas, and all those signs, I didn't tell them, are hanging right there in the locker room they gave us there. I mean, it was just a really cool how they just, we didn't win anything that day, but at least we opened up, got out of the way. Hey, that's our goal. Now, how do we get there? And then from there, we focused on each day, how do we get closer to the top of the mountain?
What's crazy is, winning a national title and coming second from a seasonal perspective, like you really don't have to do much else different,
No.
But do you feel like you kept doing the things that were working the year prior, or are you making big, massive changes the next year in order to get the national title?
Well, we got better offensively. That was a huge difference. We had better pitching. That was a big difference. And I told them the first day, I said, we're not going to practice 4 more hours a day to get that last step. We have to practice the same amount, be more efficient, and work on things that we didn't do well. And I think the biggest thing is once you get there and you can get a team back, just the experience and the calmness and know what's going to happen. Like, our kids had been there. We had a weather delay in the MIAA tournament. We had a weather delay in the conference, and the super regionals and the regionals. So guess what? We had 3 weather delays in Texas. We had breakfast. It was breakfast, but it was dinner at 1:30 a.m. at Applebee's and 12:30 in the lobby. And so kids were eating until 2 in the morning one night. We played the next morning. So, it was just whatever could happen happened, but it happened every round, and they were used to it. So we didn't change a lot of things. We just got more detail on things that we had to do better. And obviously, when you have kids hit the ball out of the park more and hit it more consistent, everything works better. But we definitely upgraded our defense a little bit, and we had a couple more kids that were a little more outspoken and a little more fiery. And we had a new assistant coach, Coach Foster, who played at UIndy, who was a little fireball. I mean, she's just a fired up, full energy. And she did an unbelievable job a couple of days before our games in the World Series. She got on the table and gave a big speech, and just, they left that room that they could run through the wall, and it was because of her energy. And I give a lot of credit to her ability to just go, screw it, this is our day, and we're gonna be fine. And we talked about, hey, all we got was a longer journey after we lost the first game to have more memories to write a better movie, and they just really believed that it was their time.
That's awesome. So were any of those adjustments from one season to the next player led, like by your captains, by your leaders on the team? Did they have any say in, how this next year is going to be different?
Yeah, they had a little more. They kind of talked about, we want to have a little leadership where it's more everyone grabbed the rope and no one kind of pointing. They felt that the year before had a little bit of that. They wanted a little more say. So when we had 3 transfers come in the semester. Who one was Player of the Year, Pitcher of the Year, D3 the year before, and leader and hits the year before. And so when they called to want to transfer in, we didn't say yes, we didn't say no. The first thing we said was, well, I don't know you, and I need to talk to our team. So we brought we don't have captains. We're not driving a boat. I've always thought that's weird. We have leaders, and leaders emerge. So we talked to all of our upperclassmen, all that I think are leaders, and said, what do you guys want to do? And, this is probably the greatest story of all time, I think, softball-wise, is our senior pitcher who was hurt the year before, who was really good but was injured with a bicep injury back from high school swimming days. And they're all kind of talking about, we bring Michon in, what's he going to do to our pitching staff? And we already had a pretty good staff the year before, and we have the freshman coming in. We know he's going to take some innings. And Anna stands up and said, listen, why are we talking about this? We all talk about we want to win the national championship, and this kid helps us. So what are we arguing about? Why are we even thinking about this? We bring her in, we figure out chemistry, and move on. And then she looks at me and says, and if she does come in with her and Debbie, I know I probably won't pitch one inning, and I'm fine with it. I want to win. But I will do whatever you want me to do. I'll be the best leader. I'll keep the book, whatever. And the kid turns around, and guess what? Had the lowest ERA in the country last year, and was 16-0. And was our best pitcher. and she's the first one to recruit Debbie, the first one to tell the transfer to get here. And so it's just a great example of being a great person got you great results. Doing the right thing paid off for that kid. Lowest ERA in the country and was undefeated.
Wow. I have goosebumps. That is the greatest story of all time. That is
Yes.
what I mean, it's your word. I'm gonna barf it up. Like I want to like keep saying it, but I think I'm gonna say it wrong. But like another act of selflessness that like you don't ask those kids to do, but they're doing it because they
Yep.
know that the team has standards to go win a championship. And it's what it's gonna take. How cool. So I can't relate to this. I've never been ranked number one in the nation, but you guys clearly have. Um, Purdue basketball is now ranked number one in the nation. And I'm just like, I'm wondering, how are they going to be able to keep that and then hopefully win a national title? But you guys were ranked number one and won a national title. What type of, pressures did you guys feel? Did you feel them? Were you more focused on you? Did any of that, the talkers or the social media posts, like, did any of that get in the way? And if so, what did you guys have to do to navigate through that in order to
Uh,
still win a national title?
you know, we talk every pregame about I could care less what's in the dugout across the field. If this dugout does what it's supposed to do, if we're the best communicators, if we bring the most energy, if we're the most focused, if we follow the game plan and we do it for each other, that dugout doesn't mean a thing. If we're worried about them and now we got to play at their level, then we're in trouble. But you got to remember, they've got to come to you and make them come to you every single game. And if we do that, you're going to win 95% of those games. But if we start worrying about who gets this or who does that, that's not us. So all we can control is what we do. We can't control what they're going to throw to us. We can't control what the umpire is going to do. That's not your job. Your job is to control what you bring to this team. So what shadow are you casting, good or bad? And can we just be us? And if we're us, we believe every game is a winnable game.
Mm, that's so well said. And I was just about to ask you, like, if there's a target on your back, what do you say? But like, what else could you say? We show up and do the thing that we have practiced all year long to do, and what anybody else has to say or do doesn't even matter. And
No,
like, how
it's
cool is that?
matters. Everyone in this circle is buying in. Doesn't matter what everyone else says. Just keep it in this circle.
That's incredible. Now, I want to know this is, are you, when you have recruits come on campus, is that one of the hot topics that you definitely bring up? Like, it's not about anybody else. It's about this team and our culture and what we build.
Yes. So we don't allow kids to commit on the first visit.
Mm,
I first visit is for me to get to know you and to know your parents and see if, first of all, if you fit what we're trying to do here. Are you the right person? I tell them all the time, it's easy to find good players. It's hard to find great kids. So first of all, you got to pass my test. And everyone says, well, D3, you got to take whatever you get. No, you can recruit to a system. It just takes more work. There's certain kids that we go out and we can't get her. Well, we're going to find a way. If you get 3 or 4 of those kids you're not supposed to get, guess what? You're pretty good. So our recruits come in. The first thing we talk about is, yes, the culture. I tell them some of the stories about why our culture is special, because every coach says, yeah, our team's a family and they get along. Chemistry's great, because every recruit wants to hear that. So you've got to kind of break down why are they a family? Why is the culture strong? And then give examples of what we've done, what they've done on their own to prove that. So culture is probably the biggest thing that we are looking at in the type of player, not the athlete, but the type of person that is the athlete.
mm. It does take work to find not just the talented kid, but the one that can fit in to what you're building. I'm just going to keep name dropping, but Molly Fickner was on the podcast saying the same exact thing. She literally asks her players, like you did, with the pitcher that you were going to bring on. And she's just like, what do you guys think of this player? And she's like, I want your honest opinion. What will it be like playing with this person? Um, because it does matter. I mean, the girls are the ones that are out there competing, right? And if you can kind of, one, know what they want, and two, allow them to have part of the conversation of like, is this kid going to help our culture? Is she going to like, I think those are great conversations to then have. And I love that you don't recruit anybody or get somebody to say yes to you on the first day. Because that's when like the lights are the brightest, right?
Yeah,
Like,
go home and let it cool down and get off the stage and it's still what you want. So yeah, I mean I think we have to understand that it's not my team. My name's on the door. Yes, if we lose I take that credit. But it's not my team. It's the coaching staff's team. It's the players' team. They're all invested. Um, And so we're all in this together. So yes, some decisions we're going to make, but they have say, they have input, and you have to be able to trust them. And every year, at some point, you have to go here. Here are the reins. This is your team to finish this. We can take you so high, but if we're going to make the next step, it has to be led by you guys. We'll put the scouting report together. We'll take you through all the things you need to know. We'll say go and stay. Hopefully, you're doing your own on the bases, and we'll do the lineup. But you guys have to make the plays. This is my 19th year. I haven't had a hit yet, and I probably never will. I've made mistakes, but I have nothing to help win the game. It's they're making the plays, and so you've got to make sure that you let them lead and teach them how to lead. We have what we call the Ubuntu Cup, and we put them in groups all year long. And let's say you make the dean's list, but your teammates do too in your group of 3 or 4. Your points double. If you go to community service, but you take your teammates, your points double. And so it's all about building that accountability and that relationship, and just putting people together, spend more time together. Because again, if you know them personally, you care more about them, and you're going to do extra things to fight for them and be there for them. And that's really what this is all about.
Mm-hmm. That's so awesome. A boom too. I just need to keep saying it so I can keep referring to it and say it right. Now with that, I love that you let the team lead, but obviously there's a reason why you're the head coach. Like you have to hold standards. What are some of those standards that are non-negotiables for your team?
You have to give us your best in the classroom. If you're a chemical engineer and your best is a 2.9, that's probably a 4.0 in every other major. So, you have to want to be held accountable every single day. You're a parent, you'll find this out. If you tell your kid to stop it, I'm going to come and spank you or put you in timeout or whatever it is, and after 13 times you haven't done anything, the 14th time is going to happen, 15th time is going to happen because you haven't backed up what you said. So your kids have to respect the fact that if they do something dumb, they know you're going to hold them accountable. And they know that you have their best interest at heart, but there are certain things that have to be done the right way. That's an effort thing. We tell kids all the time, if you give me the best effort you have, but you don't succeed, that's fine. I'll be the first one to give you a high five and a hug. But if you take a break physically or mentally, and that causes something we don't want, yeah, I'm going to let you know that's unacceptable because you control effort, you control attitude.
Amazing. I have to know this. So you were talking about behind the ears, the mental part, like being important. How are you guys working on that?
We've had mental coaches come in. We've read all kinds of books. We've done, you name it, we've probably tried it. But I think the biggest thing we can do is, in my example, it's kind of a long answer, but there's personality A, right? So personality A, let's just say they show up half hour early every day. They sit in the first row of the class. They demand a 4.0. They might fall to a 3.8 or 3.9, but they want that 4.0. They do all the little things without being asked. Then you have personality B who shows up right on time or shows up 5 minutes late with a great excuse that's understandable. And is the first one out of the locker room, first one not to pick up a ball, first one not to do little things. They're sitting in the back of the row of class, and they're happy with a 2.5 or 2.7. And you put those two kids together in a group of them, and that's how you get bad chemistry. And that's how you have issues. But if you get everyone on the bus, personality A, it drives pretty easily because they all have the same destination. The GPS all is going to the same spot. And there's no one that's trying to make that detour to take a day off or to make an excuse. So I think we have to do a good job as a staff and all coaches to get the personality that you want on the bus and let them drive it once they've earned that.
Yeah. So from a staff perspective, do you have a staff of all the same like type A's? I mean, obviously within that standard, yes, but do you guys have different personalities? Like, how do you guys mesh?
Yeah, we do. Coach Smith's been here 14 years, and I'm not going to say how old he is, but he's older. I'm in my 40s, and Coach Foster is her second year out of college. So there's definitely different generations there that see things totally different. But we try to, again, talk about everything together and figure out what's the best. And I think we do a good job of, I don't talk to the pitching staff about pitching. He doesn't really talk to hitters about hitters. I don't go out and mess with the outfielders. We stay in our own lane, and I trust them to do their job. And I've been fortunate with a great staff for a long time that truly loves this game and is more dedicated. And for what I pay them, what they do, it doesn't even add up at all. But again, they're very passionate and love this game, and they're always recruiting. They're always working. It's great to know that if something happened, I was gone for a week. We're not going to skip a beat because they know the expectation and they're going to hold themselves accountable and the team accountable. But definitely different personalities. And we do we'll do all the personality tests, and we'll get, so we know everyone where they fit in the spectrum. And then, the first thing in the fall, we haven't felt this big assignment, and it changes every year. A bunch of different definitions that I want to know what it means to them. I know my definition, but what's it mean to them at 18, 22, 20, 24? We'll ask them what Ubuntu means, and it's really cool to see their first year, their fifth year, fourth year, how they answer changes in the different scenarios. Ask them about their life goals, your family. If you ask someone, hey, tell about your family, you might get 10 words. But if you ask them to write it down, you might get 2 pages. So now, guess what? You might have over 500 pages that you got to read, and you got to do it. That way, And then when you're in the one-on-one cage times, you can talk about that kind of stuff, and you're constantly just trying to build that trust back and forth. And so they know you care about them more as a person than an athlete. And that's one thing we do, I think, on the mental side is pretty strong, is they absolutely know that we care about them as a person. If they have to miss because their dog is sick, that's fine. If they have to miss because mom, dad, or cousin, whatever, back home needs them, they go. Our priorities here are going to be the Lord, your family, your education, softball. Yeah, softball could be 4th, 5th, or 6th. That's fine. Game day slides up, non-game day slides back down. But our kids know that that's how it's going to be here.
And I love that they have clear expectations. Like they know exactly what's in front of them and that you're going to hold them accountable. And as someone who coached on college staffs for 3 years, I want to just reiterate allowing each coach to be in their own lane. And because as a player, if you know that if you need help with your hitting, I know exactly who I'm going to ask. I'm not going to go beat around the bush to another coach and try to fluff over there. No, like I need to go to the coach who's going to give me the answer that maybe I don't want, but that I need, because that's how I'm going to get better. Because if you beat around the bush, work through other coaches, and I'm talking to coaches here, like just really pay attention to this, because you don't need 3 different coaches trying to work on hitting, and each of them has their own way of saying the same thing. That's just confusing.
Yep.
I think that's something that I just wanted to reiterate, because I love that you do that, because your players now know exactly who to go to instead of find themselves in a cobweb.
And again, kind of what you said, if you and I are working together, we might have one little signal that tells you what you need to do. We're in a super regional game, and one of my hitters, her back foot can get a little screwy. She can get a little, spin on too much and stay back. And so I have one little hand signal that tells her what I want her to do. And first pitch, she just misses under. I give her the hand signal. Next pitch is a 2-run home run that helps win the game. Then where I just put my hand in a certain position, and she knew exactly what I meant, because in the cage, that's what I would do when she wouldn't do it right. And she came around third base, and she did the same signal back to me and said, "Thanks, coach. You're right." It's just, so if one person's giving all the signals and all the information on that topic, you're right. It's so much easier to be on the same page.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Curious, how would you define your coaching style personally?
I get the question all the time. It's always hard to answer. I'd love to hear their answer. I think they would say, I would say that I'm very competitive. So I was the youngest of 5. I didn't win anything till I was like almost in high school or college.
It's a long time waiting.
Yeah, exactly. And they probably say that very passionate, but also understanding. Hope they would say that. And then I would say most time I'm usually pretty upbeat and pretty fired up, as long as they're giving me good effort. So I think that's the main thing they'd probably say about me, is that, definitely has their back, and cares about them, but also loves to win it, and will hold them accountable and push them every day.
I love that. And I can tell that's just an authentic answer. But the crazy thing is, some of those almost sound cliche, because it's like everybody says that thing, but I can tell you live that out. Like I guarantee you, if I go ask one of your players, I'll ask Debbie, like she would probably say the same thing. But I think one thing that I can tell from my end is that you don't ask for the credit ever. Like you don't want the credit. You're helping guide these players, and you're going to put those players before yourself always. But that's just something that I see.
Well, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I hope that, that's, it's not about us. We get to be a small blimp in their life story for 4 years. If you do a good job, you're in that blimp the rest of your life.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best part. So you could come in and, they don't really know where they're going, or they have a goal, and you get to help them get to that goal. And that's the best part. I mean, it's way too much at times about the coach and what they've done. It's not about that at all. It's about what we can do for these kids and get them their degree and get them into a spot where they can have a career and be happy. Just love them unconditionally.
They deserve that. I mean, they're going through 4 of the hardest years of their life. Might as well
Yeah,
make it fun.
a lot going on.
Yeah, seriously though. I remember leaving Purdue and I was like, how am I alive? Like you go through so much. So I have two final questions for you. I feel like we've been talking for, 5 minutes, but it's almost been 45. Um, Now, how are you able, because you get a new team every year, like you have some players that have been here for a few years, but all in all, every year is a new year. How are you able to focus, with the big goal in mind, but like emphasize the process and have that, you know, adopted by the teams that you're leading?
Oh, we tell them like one major rule about this program is the players graduate and leave, but the expectations do not. So we tell them, recruit them, like you're going to put more work in here. You're going to spend more time in the cage on the field. In return, you're going to get a lot more out of it at the end. So no coming in, that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It'd be easier to go somewhere else and juggle engineering. Now engineering period is here is unbelievable, and I think our program is pretty good as well. So you're going to get more at the end, but it's going to be harder. And just make sure you understand that sacrifice coming in. But each year our goal is to win national championship, and finally it finally happened. But I don't think it's something that happens overnight. I think in life you have to earn your dues and pay your time, and eventually, if you keep grinding, good things will happen to you if you do things the right way.
Yeah.
I just think it's recruiting never ends. Ask my wife. I am always on my phone. Times where she doesn't want me to be. I got to take this call. I got to go see this kid. She's probably the one that said, "Hey, why is fall ball getting so out of control? Because you used to be gone 2 weekends, now you're gone 9." Um, I'm trying to balance coaching basketball teams and being at T-ball and going to see all these kids. Luckily, my staff is awesome. I'll go out whenever I want them to. But I think that's the biggest thing is you've got to develop that relationship and get those key players that people say you can't get. We didn't get here by going to get the average kid. We went out and took kids away from scholarship schools because we outworked them. I mean, I was at the convention 2 years ago. I had a coach come say, "I don't like you. I'm mad at you." And I said, "I don't even know you for what?" "Well, I gave such and such a full ride, and she came play for you." And my response was, "Well, how that happen?" I go, "How many times did you see her play?" "Once." I said, "I watched her 85 times. Here's my answer. I outworked you." And they said, "Good answer. Let me buy you a drink." I mean, hung out the rest of the night talking about things. So
Mm,
that's D3 mentality. You have to be that way if you're going to be successful. Is you have to outwork people because we can't say, "Here's your athletic scholarship. Here's your academic package," which could be just as good. But to get them to that point, you have to create that relationship. So I think we stay at this high level by treating our kids the right way, providing a great education, but also outworking everyone.
absolutely. So you mentioned fall ball, and I know you're passionate about fall ball and where it's going. Um, what is your perspective on it? Because I see burnout happening for athletes if they're playing this many games in the fall.
Yeah, and we're the ones that deal with that. So, they work so hard to get here, and by that point, they've been playing for mom or dad at certain times, and they're playing for them. And I mean, playing under them, but going to practice for them because parents are living through them at times, and they get here and they get a little bit of freedom and they quit, and not just
Mm,
here, everywhere. So, no, I think fall ball used to be, St. Louis and Scenic City. You basically played in those two tournaments, and that was good. And now you're playing Alabama, California, all over the place, 9 weekends. So how are these kids going to homecoming? How are they playing a fall sport? How are they going to football games? Just being a student, because we know in the spring they're not doing any of that. They're in softball. But now, oh, I'm not going to play high school because I got to play travel. Then I got to play travel year round. And you hear, well, we can't afford it. Well, you just spent $15,000 in travel ball. That's a semester or more at a lot of schools.
hmm
So I think it's blowing up. I think it's out of control. I'm sure travel coaches don't like that, but it's at what point is it not about the player anymore? It's about making money and saying we got to do all this. Exactly. We're
hmm
taking way too much out of the classrooms. How much class time are they missing? I mean, and how can they get to a camp? So you have 4 schools that are located in the 4-hour radius of your school, but you're playing in 4 tournaments that are 15 hours away. You have no intention of playing out there. And the coaches you want to see aren't there because guess what? We're at practice.
mm.
So I don't get it. And I will argue that with any travel coach that wants to have that conversation that it's getting out of control.
I think so too. And it's wild because now looking at you, it's like now you have to go take away time from maybe your family to go show this kid that you love them because they're playing in this tournament that, usually you have that weekend off.
Yeah.
Um, It's not really fair all around. And I will reiterate, it's definitely the money. Like that's just where travel ball is going.
Yeah.
People ask me all the time, why are you not coaching a travel ball team? And I'm like, bro, this is, I would rather prepare an athlete for college. Like if she wants to go play college, like I want to help her get there. If she has a big goal, I want to help her get there. It's starting to get away from, the athlete's love for the game. And if there's no off season, when the heck are you going to work on the things you need to get better at?
Yeah,
That's like my biggest thing.
you don't get better in a game. The experience helps you, but you get better in the cage. You get better on your own. And that's another pet peeve is you don't need a hitting coach, pitching coach, mental coach, catching coach, shoot time coach. I mean, get in the backyard, get a net, get a tee, get a wall, get a ball, and guess what? You can get better. You don't need to be coached. And we're losing that. Just go play catch. Just go play the game. I mean, we grew up, just playing all these crazy games in all of these sports, and I guess it made you a better athlete. I mean, you look at some of the best players in the country; they were 2 or 3 sport athletes in high school, not just one, and they're less injured because their body's training in different ways year round instead of the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah. And that's another thing with fall ball. Like if you want to play high school volleyball, it's almost like you can't because you're playing in all these tournaments. And I'm like, it's so good to play multiple sports because I was just telling this to my virtual hitters last night. Was it last night? My days are, yeah, it was last night. If you're playing a sport right now, you only have a certain amount of hours to go devote to maybe still fine tuning some things in your game. But if you're not playing a sport right now, you better be devoting a little more time to softball. But the thing is, that extra sport that you could be playing, you're learning way more about how your body can move. With less amount of hours devoted, to softball, you're actually getting better at softball, which
Yeah.
is I don't think people get that.
No, it doesn't matter if it's a game-winning free throw, a game-winning putt, a game-winning serve, whatever. Anytime your body or mind is in that pressure, it's going to better you for everything. So playing other sports is a different way to put more pressure on you, a better way to be a teammate. And guess what? If you're a star in one sport, but you're not in the other sport, so you get to the bench a little more and be more role player, and you get to college and now you're behind an All-American, you might have to be that kid for a year. And if you've never been that in another sport, you don't handle it well your freshman year in college, and you walk away or you fight it all year long, and it's terrible on you because you've never been in a situation. So playing more than one sport is going to teach you so much more than just X's and O's, but also how do you handle adversity and not getting what you want.
That's so well said. So well said. Now, my final question for you, there's a stigma around D3, and I just wanted to get the elephant out because people wanted you on the podcast because you are a D3 head coach. A lot of people have told me they want you for this specific reason. Why is D3 special? Why should athletes not have the D1 or bust mentality? What do you have to say about it?
I have a lot to say about that.
Take all the time you need.
This is my 19th year, and so I will say that I've had offers to go to places that are non D3 that you would see on ESPN that are bigger schools. And I stay here for several reasons. Here, as a coach, I can be a dad first and a coach second. And I would never want to give up my family to being a coach because you get 18 years and they move out and they move on. They want to live longer. I'm fine with that too in my house. But D3 is a little bit different. Where again, it's a much more academic mindset. So for a doctor, for a physical therapist, for an engineer, it's an easy, not easier, but it's a better balance of softball and academics. So we do get a lot of our high academic kids. Now, with that being said, do we put a lot of time in? Yes, we do. But you're going to be treated a little bit different as well. You're going to have a little more freedom to do things you want. And the stigma is, well, D3 is not very good. Well, I can tell you there's a lot of bad D1 teams. There's a lot of bad D2 teams. And in my years here, we've won more than we've lost. We played 2 D1 teams last year in the spring scrimmage and this fall. And guess what? We didn't lose. So we can play. Now, can we go up to the big schools, Power 5? No, we're going to get beat. We get that. All right. But if you put us in a mid-major conference, we're gonna hold our own. So what makes D3 special is that great story. So every year it is final exams, conference tournament, and then NCAA tournament. Well, one year the calendar fell funny. So it was going to be conference tournament, final exams, NCAA tournament, same week. Well, one year we didn't put a bid in, so we're going to have to travel. And I'm thinking, how are we going to do this? And all of a sudden, my door gets knocked on. I get phone calls, professors, how do we help you, coach? You're number 2 in the country this year. It could be your year. How do we help you?
Wow.
We won't leave till Wednesday. Well, they put us in a bracket with a school that can't play on Sundays because of religious beliefs. So tournament goes forward 2 days. So now we need to leave. Really need to leave on Tuesday or Monday. But we could leave the night before, not practice, and just play, which not great, but we could do it. So they come back again. No, why don't we do this? Tell your kids we'll be in our office on Friday. They can come study. We'll give them extra help. We'll sit with them and ask questions. We'll stay in our office all day Saturday, all day Sunday. They can schedule a time, take the test. So Sunday night, everyone's done with finals. We get on the bus. First game tournament, we had 7 home runs, set the NCAA record. Win the tournament, go to Oklahoma City and play on the big field. A great experience for our kids, right? And we're the only team there that wasn't taking finals, that wasn't scheduled. So those kids are writing papers, doing different things because their finals, they didn't change them. But certain D3 schools like us, we're going to balance it so well that I give all the credit to the professors. That's why we won that tournament, because our
Wow.
engineers were relaxed. Engineers in final exams, don't wave at them, don't text them, don't call them. They have one focus.
Yeah.
They're relaxed. They played great. So that's what makes D3. It's just a better balance of why you're here. And again, you're not a social security number. You are a name. You're not here because we're paying for you to be here. You're here because you simply love the game, and you're playing because you want to. Um, and it just makes a different experience, in my opinion.
You have given me goosebumps 3 times now during this interview, but how cool to get phone calls from professors. I remember some professors in college that were just pissed that we're playing in the spring and they won't like let us do an assignment, even though like technically they have to. Like our academic advisor was calling professors like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you making this harder than it needs to? And you literally see the opposite.
Yeah, it's a true give and take. It's a balance of what's best from their end and our end for the student, and that's
Mm,
what makes it look way different than and travel's a little bit less. Now, yes, we're not traveling by horse and buggy and vans. We're in charter buses. We're flying to places. We're still getting a ton of gear. I mean, our kids get more gear than they ever need. Um, and it's very similar in a lot of ways, but it's different in just it's a different mindset for the student academically.
hmm Wow. I just think that's incredible, especially for that kid who wants to be a vet or who wants to be a pharmacist. Like if
Yep.
you go to, I'm just saying Purdue just because I obviously know it, but if you want to go to Purdue and do that or even athletic training, it's just not going to work from a schedule perspective and from what D1 demands. Like it would be a miracle if you can make it work. But I love that you're able to take the athlete who does take her academics so seriously. My youngest sister Anna would have been perfect at trying, but she didn't play softball. So, but like if you, because those kids probably get it, like they're not going to go and make $1 million playing softball. Like they have to go to work once school's over. And what better way to prepare when you have that perfect balance? You still get to play the sport that you love. You do have actual people and professors that care for you to get a good degree as well at the same time. And it's like it sounds like the perfect balance. So no wonder why you haven't left.
Our kids will miss practice once in a while to go to a help session, to go to a job fair. I mean, we had a kid that I met when she was 12 and tried to talk to me at a tournament, and I said, no, 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 too young. I can't talk to you. So she emails me, and I read it and said, my goal is to be an engineer and to work for Nike. So guess what? A
Mm,
couple years ago, she comes to me and say, can I miss Thursday, Friday, Saturday practice? And I said, well, sure, but
why?
why? Give me that. Well, I want to fly to Houston for a job fair. Nike's going to be there. Okay. So this summer, where'd she work? She worked for Nike. And when she got the job, who'd she call screaming? Me. And her teammates, other people too. But, because we understood the balance of if we do our jobs, kids can miss practice here and there. If we're doing our job preparing them all year long, they can miss day one, day two, whatever. It's not going to kill them. That's the biggest myth out there, that you got to practice every day for 5 hours. No, if we do our job and prepare them, they can miss for things that are more important than softball.
Donnie, this has been such a fun conversation. And again, the goosebumps are still there, probably because it's cold in my office too. But no, truly, this has been such an enlightening conversation. I'm so glad to finally have a prestigious D3 coach hanging out with me, talking the life of what it takes to win national titles. Because from what it sounds like, Pat Murphy, Power Five, Trine, y'all are doing the same things and winning championships. So I think I'm just so excited. I'm so excited to get this out there. Can I release this tomorrow?
Whatever you got to do. And I appreciate having us on. I think more people need to hear about the option of D3. I mean, I'm at a tournament this fall, and it's a true story. The coach comes out, and there's a D1 school next to me and an NAI school next to me. And, I was curious, so I Googled, and one won 8 games and one won 10 games. And this coach comes out on a good program and gives them the flyer and talks their ear off like half hour each. Doesn't acknowledge me. And he goes back and I'm watching. You see him get his phone out and he looks up, he looks back at me, and he comes flying back out. I'm sorry, I should have talked to you, an hour ago. I didn't realize you were trying. And I said, it doesn't matter if I'm trying or not. We're still a college program, giving them our time to watch your kids play. You can at least say hello, right, and shake my hand.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because you assumed I was D3. So it's still really funny to watch a team, that you could beat, and their travel ball coach is going nuts about them because they have scholarship. And guess what? If that kid's a 4.0 and a 27, we can match that. I mean, we have so many D1s that they're paying the same, and they're getting they're getting a better experience, and they're not every time, but they're getting a great experience, and they're playing the game, they're on the field. So it's a great option if kids will just not care where the money comes from. Money's money. If it's athletic or academic, totally. let every school put a package together for you. And if it's not good enough, tell them no, thank you.
Yeah.
But let them go work for you.
Totally. Now, I hate to say this, but I truly think it's like an ego thing. It's the coaches that are like, where can I say my athletes all went to? And like, let me make sure that the schools that are like going to get the most eyes on them are like the first ones. When in reality, it's like, it's not about the kid anymore.
100%. I wish there was we have retention reports here about how long kids stay in school. I wish each travel ball program had a retention report of how many kids went D1, D2, D3. How many of those kids played all 4 years? How many kids finished their career? How many transferred? How many were over their head because you put them in a bad spot because you wanted your resume to be bigger than theirs? And find out how many won national championship. I tell kids, our top kids all the time, you can go to a mid-major. That's great. If they'll pay for it, go. But if it's not, they're not going to pay every dime. Give us a chance. And what do you want to win? A conference title, possibly. If you don't win your conference tournament, you're not going. And if you do win that, you can send to a Power 5. So you're probably down weekend number 1. Or you can come here and you have a chance to play for a national championship all 4 years. The trophy's the same. When you pick it up, it doesn't matter what level you play, it's going to feel the exact same.
I see it behind you, by the way.
That's the little guy. But
you're little. Hey, yeah. I couldn't tell if it was like way back behind you or next to you, but like, hey, you still have your each individual gets one. Yeah.
But you gotta put the trophy case. I'm like, I kind of like it on my desk, but if it's okay, it needs to go out there. So.
It looks nice. Looks nice. Yeah. No, I can't thank you enough. I think this has given such great perspective to parents who have athletes who are just curious as to what they want in college, what it really takes. And I just know your standards are so high and your culture is so good based on the talk from around this area that we live in. This has been such an enlightening conversation. Just thank you so much for being on.
Appreciate you having me, and look forward to seeing you next week in Louisville.